Santa Claus. Is it real or a fairy tale? In our modern scientific world, many would immediately dismiss any discussion about who Santa Claus might be. But the name Santa Claus comes from Sinterklaas or Sint-Nicolaas, the Dutch name for Saint-Nicolaas. Saint-Nicolaas was a 4th century Eastern Orthodox saint who was born in Patara, modern-day Turkey. He was born to wealthy Christian parents, and he himself became a Christian later on. During Saint Nicolaas's time, there was a Christian movement called pietism that says that true Christians must give away all their money and possessions and must isolate themselves from the world to show genuine and personal faith in Jesus Christ. So Nicholas decided to give away all his possessions, but he wanted to do it anonymously, so to give the credit to God. So he would throw money at night in the windows of poor people. In fact, a story is told of a merchant in Patara who was bankrupt and was in a heavy debt. In those days, the creditors would come and take the debtor's house, land, and children. Now, this merchant had 3 daughters. If he could not pay for his debts, it would mean a horrible life for his 3 daughters. He had an idea. He could hurry up and marry the daughters off before his creditors could devour all he had. But this merchant had no money for the dowry, which is needed for a legally recognized wedding. Nicholas heard this, and he threw some money in the merchant's window anonymously one night. Thus, the oldest daughter had a dowry and was married off. He did again another time for the second daughter. By the 3rd time, the merchant dad was waiting behind the door. Saint Nicholas made the merchant dad promise not to tell anyone about what he's doing nor the money. Thus, the traditions of secret gift giving and stockings in the fireplace were born. But Saint Nicholas was not only known for giving presents. With his Christian conviction, he preached greatly against pagan practices, human sacrifice, infant exposure, divination, and the sexual immorality of the Greek and Roman cultures. Far from the modern depiction of a secular Santa Claus who has nothing to do with the Christian faith, Saint Nicholas was very much into doctrinal discussions and debates. He was, in fact, present in the Council of Nicaea, which was a response to a heresy started by Arius. Clearly, doctrines mattered to Saint Nicholas. He was anti-corruption too. He was said to stand against a corrupt Roman governor who was about to execute his soldiers for the corruption he himself did. When Nicholas exposed the truth, the governor begged that God might have mercy on his soul. Saint Nicholas did many great things and good works in his life. He was the patron saint of sailors, merchants, archers, repentant thieves, and children. He died in AD 343, but the traditions that are traced back to him spread within Christendom. Christmas traditions like gift-giving were continually practiced in countries that received Nicholas's stories. The Dutch were privileged to receive the stories of Saint Nicholas too. They loved the stories, and they loved Saint Nicholas. The Dutch took certain biblical themes and associated them with Saint Nicholas. For example, In the book of Revelation, Jesus returns on earth with the saints riding a white horse. So, they believed that Sint-Nicolaas will be one of those saints. But to them, Sint-Nicolaas was a little more special. Jesus will come for the day of judgment at the end. Sint-Nicolaas will come once a year for mini judgments to check on the kids, to see who is naughty and who is nice. The angels in Revelation were turned into elves in the Dutch stories. And the book of life became the book of the naughty and the nice. On the last day, Jesus and the saints will come from the New Jerusalem. Well, the New Jerusalem became the North Pole where Sint-Nicolaas would come from. There were no horses, however, in Norway. So they made Sint-Nicolaas ride on reindeers. Whatever the hermeneutics is, Santa Claus is in fact Sint-Nicolaas. As the historian William Federer says, the Santa Claus today was the Sint-Nicolaas, a Greek guy who was a real person, who was a real Christian, who was willing to face death for his faith in Jesus. He gave to the poor. He stood up against corrupt politicians, against exposure of unwanted infants and so forth. So, instead of dismissing Santa Claus as a myth or a fairy tale, why don't you be the Santa Claus to someone this Christmas?